professional, and it's quicker and easier to view since it only takes one click versus downloading and then watching. The more steps the client has to take to find out if they want to work with you, the less likely they'll want to work with you. So make sure your video thumbnail is the image that you want to see in your portfolio. For embedded videos, the portfolio is going to use whatever your thumbnail is set to on YouTube or video or whatever you're hosting. So make sure it's set up nicely, not a weird clip of you halfway through a word or something. Attachments. If you have attachments as part of your portfolio, of course, high quality assets here are important. These can be a doc, SWF, PDF, and the max file size is 25 megabytes. Okay. More detail on this can be found in the support section. Again, bottom of the Upwork homepage, support section there. And if you look at portfolio, will be a good keyword. It'll have all the tech specs and recommendations. And also for those that are probably wondering, this is being recorded. You can get a copy of it. I'll show you where later on the community events section. So don't worry about scribbling down notes furiously if you don't want to. When it comes to your individual portfolio items, here are a few pointers to consider to help you wow your potential clients. Start with a great project. We already talked about this in the portfolio curation section. You want to use high quality professional assets, provide a detailed description of what you did, the skills it took, and the tools you used. Will you use an Illustrator, Adobe, After Effects, whatever the case may be, different keywords, because a lot of people that are more knowledgeable on the client side will be looking for them. And thoughtfully select your portfolio format. So for me, when I first started, if I made a logo in my portfolio, I would just slap the logo up there, flat background. Now, I like to stage my shots. What I mean by that is, let's say I designed a business card. I'll take a stock image of a stack of business cards on a cool, simple background with one business card facing up. I'll Photoshop my business card design onto that thing, so it looks like a stack of these out in the wild. The work is still the same work, but I've also illustrated my photo manipulation abilities and my eye for delivery and context. So staging some of your shots is a good way to stand out from everyone else that may have just pasted it flat. Just food for thought. It's always a good idea to see what the peers are doing that are succeeding and see if they're doing something that's working better than you. So there's several formats you can use for the layout of how you'd like to display your work. The gallery template, the one on the left, allows you to showcase the work you did with a description underneath a carousel of images and videos. If you choose to display your portfolio as a case study, the second one here in the middle, you'll be able to tell a story about your project by framing the problem you set out to solve and then the solution you came up with. Maybe a good idea for more complex projects, perhaps. If you want to highlight your work in a scrollable format, you can select the classic template, the one on the right. You should choose this template if you're adding files beside images or videos, such as documents, spreadsheets, things like that, because it can support it nicely. And whenever you select a format and want to change it later, you can do that at no problem. So if you're not really sure what's going to look best, just select one, see how it loads, and then you can go ahead and edit it, change it to a different one, and play around with it till it feels right to you. You'll know when it feels right, I think. Something small, which is a cool feature in all the portfolio formats, is the Share Portfolio button in the portfolio lower right corner. You can refer to specific examples in your proposals, and it drives clients back to your profile, which is just highlighting you and really driving that traffic towards engagement with you, and ideally, the interview. So, when you're creating or revising your portfolio, think about what you want your portfolio to communicate. Far more than just a few pictures. How you put your portfolio together can tell clients a lot about how you do your work. Sort of what I was talking about earlier with the staging. So, but describe the scope of your project to help the viewer understand exactly what was done in the project. Was it a team project? What was your role in the project? What did the client ask for versus what you delivered? And what did you find out along the way? You can share information about the tools and techniques you used within the project. I know for a lot of more complex design things, you're using a multitude of programs, maybe starting in Illustrator, moving to Photoshop, maybe into Blender, who knows. But it can be impressive when you go ahead and tell a story, because a lot of clients I know I've worked with don't have a pulse on the nuance and difficulty of creating certain images. So when you just slap a cool image up there, they're like, oh, nice. But when you show the arduous process that went through to make this and the knowledge and skill set it took to make it, suddenly that's a far more valuable picture. You can share about the initial project goals as well and the outcome of those goals and any milestones and workflow. including information about your steps and processes. This is a really good one to include, actually, the processes. There's plenty of freelance talent and plenty of clients looking for them. What's going to make them click is not only can you do the work, do you have the skill set, and do you have a good track record, but do I like working with you? If you are the Picasso of your genre, but you're kind of difficult to work with, you're unavailable, or you're short with the clients, they're not going to want to work with you. So it's important to have a mix of those soft skills as well, and outlining your process, your workflow. Like, if you give me a response here, I'll deliver the next revision by this date. Whatever the process may be, it helps outline what the process will be with you and the client, and they can opt into that a lot easier than just a generic, I'll deliver it to you in 10 days. Okay, enough about that. Next, let's share some screens on a portfolio item from Upwork Freelancer's profile and talk through some highlights. So, we're looking at the portfolio from Thorsten, who's from Germany. And Thorsten describes himself as a graphic designer with a penchant for logos. And I'd like to do a shout out there. Thank you to Thorsten for letting us use his portfolio as an example in this webinar. So here's some screenshots of his portfolio thumbnails, and we're going to go and look at the details of the first thumbnail item called Perfect Label. Okay. So here he includes the first steps of his process, including an example of the pencil sketches he used to develop the concepts, and then showing examples of in-progress work, which can really help clients understand what it might be like to work with you. In this case, they would know that likely a logo project with Thorsten would start with some pencil sketches. Next, we can see that he includes another asset about the logo development and talks about the next steps. And you can see this also works to help really tell the client a story about what is required behind the scenes that they don't know about. This could also be used as a tool to explain your cost or quote to the client. A lot of setting your price is not trying to underbid everyone else. That's not usually a good method. A much more valuable method for everyone involved is to create value in your work. Explain why you have a $500 logo when they can get a $200 logo somewhere else. They want the $500 logo. Trust me, they do. Tell them why. Explain why it's better, okay? Especially for clients that don't have any idea the complexity behind their finished design project, which a lot of them don't. And here we'll walk through the remaining step of this process. We'll take a look at the description next, and I'd like to talk to you about a few types of assets you may want to consider. If you're on a project or in a field where you regularly edit work, have a before and after is a great way to present. If you work in video, you can use the feature to embed your video so clients don't need to go to a new page or download a file. And here we can see the portfolio item is tagged with specific skill tags and has a project description. It links to the website where the work is in use, and this can be very helpful if the work can be shown in context of where it's ultimately used. So this portfolio here is linked to an Upwork project and in his project history, further providing credibility for his work, and also just having them linked towards you. And on those screens where they're on your portfolio and your profile, there's an easy way to contact you. So it's a good sort of like shift the attention from the pool of people they may hire to just Will. A few other tips to help you build your portfolio. Sharing facts about your work can add authenticity and credibility. Some ways to do this are by linking your portfolio items to Upwork contracts that you've completed in the past, providing proper credit within the portfolio item for your role in the project, crediting any contributors as appropriate, provide detailed and accurate project descriptions to paint a really clear picture of the work, and think of your portfolio items in the context of your profile. When the overall profile is well aligned, you see things like skills repeated within the profile skill tags, your profile description, and skill tags in your portfolio. So each of these elements help to reinforce and support one another. So also think about your portfolio alignment with the rest of your profile when uploading it, okay? Sharing a state picture of your work in progress is a good asset as well. And some benchmarking and demand research. You can use the features on Upwork to do market research. So for benchmarking yourself against other similar talent can help you to better understand how you compare to other candidates prospective clients may be considering. Look at their rates. Look at how they're marketing themselves within their portfolio, their profile, and their specialized profile. Then you can also do demand research. Look at the design projects that clients are posting that are of interest to you and specifically focus in on the words and skill tags they're using to describe their work. So if you don't know how to find your fellow freelancers on Upwork, on the Upwork homepage, top left, not the main feed search bar, but the top left search bar, there's a little green arrow, I believe it is. Click that, and it default starts by looking at work, because we're freelancers. But if you switch it to looking at talent, and then hit enter, you can now have a bunch of filters and look for graphic designers, video designers, whatever the case may be, 5-star, made over $20,000, whatever the benchmarks you need. You can look for the top-rated freelancers on Upwork, independent professionals, and see what are they doing? How do you compare? And that really helps give you some context when you're working in sort of a vacuum as an independent professional. Some additional amazing resources we put together. There's the 4 ways to create a more successful freelancer portfolio is a blog post that shares general best practices and has additional portfolio examples. The Enhance Your Profile help article includes a section on how to update your portfolio. Again, that's in the help section, the support section. And also you can engage in our community forums. This is a hugely valuable resource, the community forums. If you have a question about something, guaranteed someone else has too. And the most amazing thing about the Upwork community is how supportive it is. When I first got involved many, many years ago, I thought that it would be a bit more cutthroat. I come from a high-level business where everything was a little bit nastier. But in freelancing, especially on Upwork, everyone's been really supportive. If you have a question, people have gone through the same struggles that you're going through, have gone through the same lack of motivation, or just am I ever going to get someone to respond? Whatever the situation may be, the community forums are a great way to gut check, find best practices, or just be like, hey, can I get some feedback on this? Am I crazy? So great resource, highly recommended. And best access to the community forums. Scroll down to the bottom of the Upwork page. Next to the support, there's a community link there as well. Both fantastic tabs. So this is let me see here. So I'm going to go ahead and share a link here. I don't know if I have the chat enabled. No, let me see if I can do it in the Q&A. There is a section where with some feedback on this video. While I work on figuring out how I can share that, I think the chat has actually been turned off. I would like to go ahead and start looking at some of the Q&A sections. So give me a second while I catch up to some of these. I'm just going to go silent for a little bit. Okay. So a lot of these questions I'm going through are things that we did answer throughout the presentation, so I may not address some of those specifically. And again, this will be recorded, or it has been recorded, sorry. Let me see, I would love to be able to just chat. Nothing. Okay. So there's a question here about how to get more consistent work. When you are first starting as an independent professional or freelancer, there is a lot of inconsistency. I found a lot of feast and famine. However, some best practices are to always try, where appropriate, to upsell and get recurring business. 90% of my work, I would say 98% of my work, is recurring business. Clients that I've already worked with on Upwork or external in my own networks. And the way that I get recurring business is by being very transparent, by being honest, by being me. I'm a little bit goofy, you may have noticed. But I create a relationship with my clients. And at the end of a project, with a new client, at the end of a project, before I've asked for a review, when I'm closing out the project, I say, Mr. or Mrs. Client, fantastic working with you. Have I delivered everything that you were looking for in this logo project? Yes? No? Great. No, you're happy. Great. Fantastic. So you've got a great new logo. Whenever you're ready, why don't we go ahead and apply this new style that we created to some of your other creatives? Do you have flyers or a website or a business card? I'm asking, and I'm planting the seeds that I'm happy to be that guy whenever you're ready. I would say 70% of the time, it turns into, yeah, Will, why don't you do matching business cards? Why don't you do a website too? You know anyone that does video? Ask and you shall receive. Just make sure that you have addressed the client's core requirements first. If they were looking for a logo and you haven't delivered the logo, don't ask them for more business yet. Finish the first one and make sure they're happy. Okay. So for some of us that are in agencies, agencies on Upwork have a variety of different settings, and whoever is the owner of the agency is determining what those settings are. So they're asking, how do they update their project catalog when they're in an agency rather than just an individual? So when you're in an agency, they can determine whether or not members of the agency can work independently, or if they can only work as the agency. And if they can only work as the agency, only this person can make admin level edits like project catalog. So my recommendation in regards to your question on how do you update project catalogs when you're part of an agency, would be to talk to your agency owner and learn what the permission sets are. And if you'd like to be able to work with the agency as well as independently, make sure you bring that up so that you can do both, because then you can have your own project catalog items up on your independent. Okay. Good question. So this person's saying that a lot of their bids go unanswered. And what are some of the characteristics of a successful bid? Again, I'll come back to my example. When I first started putting up proposals or bids, I would put out 20 to 40 a week, and I did not get a lot of responses. I didn't really know how to present myself. So my recommendation, you want to keep your bids short and sweet. Think about the client. The client puts out a job. I need a new video. They're going to get 100 people over the course of a week saying, hey, I'd love to do that video for you. If you have a novel for them to read, man, they're going to move on. Most likely, they're going to move on. Short and sweet, digestible, not just bullet points. Use bullet points, but don't make it too short. Bring a bit of your personality. So mine is typically, I would say, 3 short paragraphs in length. 1, I address the project. This logo project sounds fantastic. I have extensive experience doing these types of projects, as you can see from the portfolio items that are attached. 2, do you have any specific, I ask questions, that's a very good one. Ask questions in your bid, in your proposal. Do you have any specific design directions or aesthetic, factors for me to consider, or examples of, logos that you like that we want to emulate, anything like that? Ask a question, is the point. And then the 3rd paragraph is sort of my standard one that's just a bit about me. And that's just, a little bit about my background in business development, leading into working with clients from Fortune 100 all the way down to mom and pop individual people and all the people in between. But I have a short cover letter that I use for that, and I customize it to each individual proposal that I'm putting out. I use my general template that I found works, but I customize it. Use the words that they use. If they have specific questions, answer their specific questions. Just a copy-paste approach to all of them does not work well. You will not land clients. It's so easy to tell from the client side if someone just slapped a copy and paste on there and hit send. Like, this person's not paying attention, not giving me the warm and fuzzy feeling. Okay. There is actually a webinar specifically on this. I think it's called Proposals that Win. So if you go to Upwork, scroll down all the way to the bottom, in the footer, the community section. In there's an events section where it has upcoming events such as this one, and also pre-recorded ones of prior events that we've done. They're educational webinars, interviews of the top-rated folks in different categories, expert needs or expert talk, we call those. So take a look at those, the community section, events. That is really where you're going to find a lot of good stuff, okay? Is there a possibility to insert audio samples to our projects as a voiceover artist? I would say yes, but perhaps not directly in the way that you think. I think you would likely upload a video that could just be a static image, picture, stock image if you like, with the audio behind it. I think that'd be your way to accomplish that. I hope that helps. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. I mean, it could just be just a placeholder of anything really, but I'd make it visually appealing. Maybe find a stock image that looks nice. Okay. So a couple questions here about what's a good price to set as you're new to Upwork. Remember when I was talking about earlier in the presentation how you can find your fellow independent professionals on Upwork? On the Upwork homepage, top left, the search bar, if you expand that, it can go from looking for work, jobs, to looking for talent. Select talent, hit enter. Now you're looking at the talent side of it rather than the job side of it. From there, find someone that works in the same category you do. Find someone that has 5-star reviews, top rated, making the money that you want to make. Maybe living in a part of the world that's big for, like LA is usually a hub for a lot of this type of stuff. So maybe look at who are the people that are being the most successful in my category, and emulate what they do, or find your own flavor of it and adapt it to yourself. So I use that whenever I'm raising my prices. I take an honest look in the mirror and I compare my work now versus the top designers on Upwork, and I think, okay, well, mine's honestly not that good, but it is this good, so I'm going to go ahead and match that price and see what happens. So that's usually how I feel pretty confident about my price changing strategy. So good question here. How much work do I receive through project proposals and invites versus your project catalog? I personally started on Upwork before project catalog became a thing, before it was available, and even since before it became available, I have mainly recurring clients. So I'm going to be asked, I don't use project catalog personally, but that's for my business. I still absolutely advocate it, and if I ever found myself in not able to get work, like my bids aren't working or whatever, I'm not getting the level of work I want, I absolutely am going to dial in my project catalog. But just me personally in my business, I didn't need it. I didn't need an extra line in the water because I'm now getting business at a rate that I'm happy with. But if you are looking to increase your work or just change the way you work, absolutely use it. I highly recommend it. That's a good question here. Is there a list of categories when creating your specializations? I think they were talking about the specialized profiles. Probably not in the way that you think. However, what I would do is take a look at the job feed and take a look at the jobs that you want to be doing. So I use broad examples. I want to be doing PowerPoint decks or presentation decks, and I want to be doing logos. I don't want to be doing clothing design, for instance. So I will look at the jobs and see the people that are the jobs that look attractive to me that are hiring for logo and for presentation decks. What are the terms they're using? What are some of the keywords? Are they using Sketch? Are they using Google Slides? Are they using PowerPoint? The keywords do change over time, not dramatically, but they do change a bit. Look at the jobs that you want and see how they reflect it. Look at the people that are working in the space that you want to be working. Again, looking at the other freelancers on the site. What words are they using? What skill? What sort of context is it? That would be my recommendation for you. Okay. Interesting question here. As someone working abroad, can the option of project catalog significantly increase my visibility to international clients? It is a great question. I would say from my visibility, I would say yes, specifically for the reason that I know on the project catalog, I was a fly on the wall in a lot of the meetings when it was under development and testing. They did a very thorough job. There's a lot of consideration in how it's built on the back end in the coding to make sure it is SEO, search engine optimized, meaning that, so yes, if someone Googles graphic designer, in Oregon, odds are they'd see my project catalog if I had one up there. But so yes, I think in an abstract way, circling back to it, it does increase visibility to everyone, international and domestic, And the one thing I can definitely put my yes behind is the fact that it is search engine optimized. So it's pulling people in from external to the Upwork platform. If someone's just online searching for voiceover talent for whatever your flavor is, it will be backlinking to your Upwork portfolio. So it's good stuff. If I were you, if you're looking for more information on that specifically, I'd recommend going to the support section on Upwork and just seeing a little bit more of the technical detail. I don't want to misinform by speaking too far on something I do not know. So, good question here. I'm going to paraphrase, boil it down. This person has sort of feels stuck and doesn't feel like they're getting traction. You know, they made a bit of progress, then they sort of felt a lull in the business perhaps, and it's not picking up in the way they'd like. This happens. This happens to everyone. Sometimes just in the beginning, sometimes you get it later on. Most of us are not working in a room full of people, a team that we bounce our energy off of, a boss that says good job or you're fired if you don't produce. You know, so when you're in a vacuum working by yourself in your own room and you have no one to bounce off of, it can be hard to maintain your energy and your spirits, especially when you're putting out bids and they don't come back. My recommendation would be to take a pause when you need a pause, get inspiration from the community, the Upwork community, I mean. Remember, scrolling down the bottom of Upwork to community. Look at some of the best practices that other people have done in regards to this. Listen to some of the expert talks that we've done with people that talk about how to recharge your batteries, how to flip the script and do something new. I personally, when I felt a lull, like I wasn't being very effective in getting the jobs that I wanted, I tried more A/B testing, meaning I had my general sort of structure of my proposal, and I'd created this version and I created that version. I sent 5 bids using A, 5 bids using B. B got 5 bites, A got 1 bite. Okay, sounds like B is working. B now becomes A, create a new B. And that keeps cycling through that process. I'd say it took me about a month and a half, but I got my script dialed in tight. Also, you can, in the community, the community is really where I'd advise you to go for moral support, for feedback on your process or your workflow. Maybe you can put up an example of your proposal and have someone to tear it to shreds kindly and tell you how to improve. It's good. It's good. They also mention on this that a lot of the jobs that they see in their job feed have a really low budget. Don't let that scare you off. Again, a lot of the clients that we're working with have no idea what it takes to do your job. They have no idea. They don't know if this takes 5 minutes. They don't know if it takes 10 weeks. They don't know if you need a master's degree to be able to do it or if their kid could do it. That's fine. So don't let someone's budget that they post on the job stop you from bidding on the job. Bid what you're worth, and then support why you're worth that. Mr. or Mrs. Client, you said you had a budget of $20 for this logo. I can guarantee you want to spend at least $200 on it with me, and here's why. With a $20 logo, you blah, 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 blah. But with a $200 logo, you're going to get this many revisions. You're going to love it. I'll make sure you have all the file formats that you need for your website, mobile app, blah, blah, blah. All the things that they haven't considered that you have because you're the professional. Don't be afraid of bidding on those little jobs, because oftentimes they turn into big jobs. So this question is about what attachments should I include with my bid. You want to include your portfolio items, specifically ones that have some sort of relation to the project. Meaning, if I'm bidding on a logo project, maybe attaching my PowerPoint decks is not a great example of my work. However, attaching some previous logos and branding projects I have would. While my PowerPoint decks are sweet, and I'm quite proud of them, they don't really have any bearing on what the client is looking for. So make it pertinent, make it modern. Don't inundate them with 75 different ones to look at. Again, short and sweet. I usually attach anywhere from 1 to 4 items, depending on how pertinent it is. There's a couple questions here asking if there's freelancers on Upwork who can check out my portfolio and give tips. I believe that there are independent professionals like us, freelancers on the platform that are coaching, for lack of a better word, like business coach or consultant. Feel free to leverage their skill set. Who better to help you dial in your portfolio other than on your profile than someone else who's in the exact same trenches as you, okay? So feel free. Just as other people would hire you, feel free to hire others on Upwork. I actually started on Upwork by hiring people to do graphic design, and I loved it. I was working in business at the time, admin, and I'm like, wow, that looks like a lot of fun. And now here I am. So there you go. A lot of people are saying that the level of inbound invites that you get from the system is fluctuating. Just some housekeeping items on that. Make sure that if you get an invite to a job, whether from an Upwork representative or the client directly, answer it quickly. Whether you deny or accept has very little bearing on how many invitations you get. But if you wait a week to accept or deny an invitation, it doesn't reflect well on your responsivity score, and you'll get less invites. That's just one of the many moving pieces that affects that metric. It's a whole slew of things that I'm not privy to. But definitely responsiveness is a huge one. So even if you're not going to take the job, decide quickly, okay? I'd say, within a couple hours usually is your best bet. If possible. You get a notification in your email and on Upwork, so you know when it happens. All right? This is a very common question, a great question. When I started, did I intentionally charge less to build a reputation? Personally, yes, on my first few, and then I quickly learned the error of my ways. Everyone that I have ever met that has been successful or just been doing freelancing for any period of time all say the same thing. The cheapest clients require the most work. The most expensive clients require the least amount of work, typically. Rather than bidding down on your jobs, like putting pennies on the dollar that you want to charge, focus on creating value in yourself. Why should the client spend $200 on the logo when there's a $50 option? There is always someone cheaper. There's always someone cheaper. That doesn't mean better. That doesn't mean it'll get them what they want. It doesn't mean it'll work in the various formats that they need. It doesn't mean it'll have, be modular for light or dark background, whatever the case may be. A lot of the clients don't know all the variables around the projects that we do for them. It's our job to highlight those for them, and that creates value, and also shows you're an expert on the topic and will likely lead to repeat business. So I do not recommend doing a super low bid to try and get your foot in the door. It can work for some. I got lucky. It worked for me once or twice. I got a couple 5-star ratings, but I had a nightmare of a time with it, and I quickly got rid of that technique. It was not good, not fun. So I don't recommend it. So a lot of people are asking about the video recording of this. So again, I'm sorry, I'd love to share a link here, but it looks like the chat feature has been disabled, so I can't even send you that, send you a link here. Let me just look again just to see if I got anything else here. You know what? I might actually be able to place it here. Bear with me, I'm going to try something. On the share screen here, let me see. Alright, so I don't know if there's going to be a link or not. I don't think so, actually. That's for this feedback. I'm sorry, I know it's not an easily clickable link, but let me see if I can get the community link for us here. Yeah, this one's good. So this is an easy link, even if you can't copy and paste it. I'll just make sure I get it on the screen here. Oops. So upwork.com/community/events. This is where you'll find the recordings, this one and all the previous ones. Highly recommended. Amazing amount of material in there. Sorry, we're running low on time here. I want to try and get to a few more questions. We've had an amazing amount of feedback. I apologize if I'm not able to get to you directly, trying to find the ones that are most applicable to the most amount of people. Good question. At some point, do we have to pay for some sort of fee to access all of Upwork, or is it always free? So there's a basic membership, which is free and provides a few connects, and then you can buy bundles of connects as you need. That's fine. I would recommend the upgraded Upwork portfolio, especially as a beginner, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in this position. I have it still to this day. I personally buy it. The difference between the upgraded Upwork membership on the talent side, the freelance side, is that you get way more connects. I think it's 80 connects included in that each month, which is great, and they roll over. But you also, when you're looking at job postings, it will show you the high bid, the low bid, and the medium, the middle bid, which when you're not really sure how to compete, that's a great way. You know, if you're going to bid over the max bid, you need to be able to justify it, but you don't need to bid below the lowest bid. So for me, when I was starting, the upgraded membership was invaluable. Highly recommend it. It's not very expensive. I don't know off the top of my head what the price is exactly. I want to say $12 a month. Don't quote me on that. It'll be on the Upwork page itself. Great question here. We'll probably make this one to end on. How do you most appropriately ask a client for a review at the end of a contract? Such a good question. Thank you for bringing this up. So I always ask, always, except for once when it was nasty, but it's okay. When I'm closing out a contract, I say, thank you, client. So I've delivered X, Y, and Z. Is everything as you need it to be? Were there any other assets or variations that you needed on this project? Nope, all good. We love it. Fantastic. What I recommend at this time is we can go ahead and close out this project until you have another project for us to work on. And then when I close out this project, or when we close it out, we can both close it out, it will trigger a little review survey. If you have just 2 minutes to go ahead and fill that in, it helps me find awesome clients like yourself in the future. Thank you so much. I know it sounds a bit cheesy, and find your own way of doing it. I don't have clients that don't leave me reviews. I would say 90% of my clients leave reviews, and it's using that same technique. Ask for it. First, establish, are you happy? If they're not happy, don't ask for a review. Keep working. Right? Once they're happy, be like, thank you so much. If you can take just a moment to fill it out, when I close it, it'll trigger it, so tell them what to expect. They don't have to go looking for it. It'll trigger a sort of feedback survey. Just take a moment to fill it out. It would help me a lot. And then I like this one. It helps me find other awesome clients like yourself. Is giving them a compliment, further increasing my relationship with that person, and it's relatable. It's relatable. People don't mind helping other people for the most part if it doesn't cost them nothing. So, great question. Let's see if we can squeak in one more before the buzzer. For those that are asking, in Oregon, I'm in Springfield, which, yes, I do see the humor considering my last name is Simpson. So a lot of people asking where to see the other top-rated professionals. I'm going to explain it one more time because I think it's hugely valuable. When you log into Upwork.com, you log into your profile. In the top left justified corner, there is a search bar. It'll default search for jobs. However, if you click the little downward-facing arrow, instead of looking for jobs, click on talent and then hit enter, and it'll bring up a new screen with a whole bunch of filters on the left and then the results on the right. From there you can say, I'm looking at design and creatives, specifically graphic design, specifically ones that are 5 stars or more, specifically ones that have put in over 200 hours of work and have made over 80,000, whatever the thresholds are. Look for the best of the best if that's what you're looking for. Then once you put in the filters, hit update, and it'll give you a list of everyone's profile that fits those categories. So when you're looking to get a pulse on your peers, how they present themselves, their portfolio, their bid rates, whatever the case may be, that's a great place to start. So I highly recommend it. So again, that what we just mentioned, and also the events, I posted the link up there. Sorry, it's not clickable. I will work on having that resolved for the next time around. But upwork.com/community/events, all the recordings there, fantastic amount of information. That's all the time we have for today. I will try and review some of these questions throughout the week and reach out where I can. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate all the feedback. I wish I could share this feedback link for you, but I think when I close out the presentation, you may get prompted to do a little bit of feedback. It really helps me improve my presentation and understand what I can best provide to you guys, the community. So thank you so much. Stay cool if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you're cooking like me, and we'll catch you next time.